No, go ahead, keep singing. Go ahead, keep singing. Why you gonna stop?
Fucking hater. Is that you is?
No, go ahead, hit them notes. Why you scared now?
No, I ain't scared.
You scared?
They ain't paying me.
You can't imagine the level of pain to find out in that manner that not only was he murdered, but that it was live streamed.
That was a tearful account of Stanley Wright, a Flint advocate and business owner. His son, Mukari Finley, was found dead from stab wounds in a home in Warren. The family spoke today about that emotional loss. Finley was identified after his suspected killer, Dominic Robinson, engaged in a deadly police standoff that was live streamed for nearly 5 hours.
29 years old, a chef with real talent. One swipe right, and he walked straight into a trap. Mukari Finley thought he was meeting someone new. He had no clue she'd already planned his death. And when Dominic Robinson finished stabbing him, she didn't panic. She didn't try to hide what she'd done. She picked up her phone, aimed it at his body lying there on the floor, and went live on Facebook. This is what happens when murder meets social media. A young man gets killed 3 different ways. Once with a blade, once on a live stream for the world to see, and once more by the lies his killer spread while his blood was still fresh. You're watching Trending Crime Vault. We cover domestic violence and relationship murders, the lives lost when love turns deadly. No filter, no excuses, just truth. If this is your first time here, go ahead and subscribe because we're telling stories that need to be heard.
I go, that man is in the back of my head. I can't go nowhere without crying. Every time I'm sitting in a car, I cry and think about that fucking man. His sister calling me, everybody calling me. I'm trying not to disconnect you, officer, but hold on, this is sister, I want to talk to.
Mukari Finley wasn't just getting by. He was building something real. At 29, he'd made his mark as a chef. And I'm not talking about working the line at some franchise. This man understood that cooking was more than food on a plate. It was connection. It was culture. It was showing love through what you create. His family owned a restaurant in Flint, Michigan. When you stepped through those doors, you weren't just getting fed. You were getting a piece of their history, their legacy. This family believed in building something that would last, something that mattered. Mukari came up in that environment. He showed up, put in the work, made his people proud. Look, this wasn't some dude out here with a record or running the streets. The man had no criminal history, not even a traffic ticket situation. Clean all the way through. And despite what you might have heard floating around online after he died, let me be clear about this. Mukari wasn't selling drugs, wasn't using them either. His family had to come out and say that directly because, yeah, they had to defend him when he couldn't speak for himself anymore. We'll get into that part later. Right now, just understand this. Mukari Finley was living his life, building his career, being a son, a nephew, a brother, a friend. He had people who loved him hard, people who needed him around, and he had so much more life left to live. So what happened? Like most folks these days, Mukari was on the dating apps, swiping, talking to people, trying to meet somebody. Nothing wrong with that. That's how people connect now. That's the reality we're in. He matched with someone and they started messaging back and forth. Conversations were flowing. Everything seemed normal. They hadn't met face to face yet, but they'd been chatting for a minute, building that comfort level, getting to know each other. The person on the other end of those messages was Dominic Robinson, 30 years old. Sometimes went by Nikki Pop. She identified as a trans woman, and from what came out later, she was dealing with her own pain, her own loss. See, Dominic's boyfriend had passed away earlier that year, and that grief, that anger she was holding, it was sitting inside her waiting for a place to land. But here's where things get complicated. Here's where the story splits into two completely different versions. Mukari's family believes, and this is important to understand, they believe Mukari might have known Dominic's boyfriend. That maybe there was something personal there, some kind of intimate connection between Mukari and the man who died. But what they're absolutely certain about, what they'll stand on, is that Mukari had nothing to do with drugs, wasn't selling them, wasn't using them. That whole narrative that exploded across the internet later? Complete lies. But Dominic had created a story in her mind, a version of events she'd convinced herself was real. And whether Mukari knew it or not, when he agreed to finally meet up with her in person, he wasn't walking into a date. He was walking into an execution. Now let's talk about the catfish part because this matters. The pictures Dominic had been using in her profile, that's not what Mukari saw when he arrived.
Mukari was catfished by this picture. But when he arrived at the location, this is who he was met with. He was encountered by a biological male who was twice his size and who had been plotting to kill him for months.
Girl, imagine this. You've been talking to someone online for weeks. You think you know what they look like. You show up, and it's a completely different person standing in front of you. That moment of confusion, that split second of wait, hold up, what's going on here? That might have been the last clear thought Mukari Finley ever had. Because Dominic wasn't there to talk things through. She wasn't there to see where things might go. She wasn't there for drinks or conversation or getting to know him better. She was there for revenge. The address was in Warren, Michigan, Dominic's place. And the second Mukari walked through that door, he crossed into his own death without even realizing it. See, Dominic Robinson had been planning this, not just thinking about it, not just mad and venting, actually planning it out, step by step. Prosecutors would later say there was evidence of serious premeditation, extensive planning. This wasn't a fight that got out of control. This wasn't passion or emotion taking over in the moment. This was a calculated execution dressed up as a first date. And once Mukari was inside, once that door closed, Dominic made her move. The attack was vicious. Mukari Finley was stabbed multiple times. We're not talking about one wound during an argument. We're talking about a sustained, brutal assault. Again and again and again. There was no chance for him to defend himself properly. No opportunity to talk his way out of it. No moment where he could make it to the door and get away. Dominic Robinson wanted him dead, and she made absolutely certain of it. Mukari collapsed right there, blood spreading across the floor around him. His breathing got slower, then stopped completely. And in those final moments, as his life drained away on that floor in Warren, he was utterly alone. But Dominic wasn't finished, because killing Mukari wasn't enough for her. The revenge she'd been carrying, the rage she'd been holding onto since her boyfriend died, it needed witnesses. It needed an audience. So she grabbed her phone, opened up Facebook, and hit go live. Just like that. She pointed that camera directly at Mukari's lifeless body and started talking. Started telling her version of what happened to anyone who would watch. And people did watch. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Scrolling through their feeds, stopping when they saw what was on their screens, unable to look away even though they should have. This wasn't a news report that came out later. This wasn't crime scene photos that leaked after the fact. This was happening right then, in real time. A man's dead body on camera. A woman standing over him speaking into the lens like she was hosting her own show. Dominic told the viewers that Mukari had sold drugs to her boyfriend. That those drugs killed him. That Mukari was responsible for her loss. And this murder, this body, this blood, this was justice being served. Except here's the thing. The police never confirmed any of that. Not a single part of it. The prosecutors never backed up her claims. Mukari's family, who knew him better than any stranger on the internet ever could, they said it was all lies.
Mukari died for nothing. For nothing. That young man touched so many people's lives. We as his family know it. Because every time we meet one of Mukari's co-workers, every single time, they tell my wife and I how much they love Mukari.
Every word. But the damage was already done. Because once something goes live on social media, truth doesn't matter anymore. It spreads, gets shared, gets screenshot and reposted and discussed in comment sections everywhere. Mukari Finley's death became content, became entertainment, became a spectacle people consumed while going about their day. His family would later describe it as a triple murder. The first being his physical death, the stabbing, the bleeding out, the final breath on that floor. The second being what they called a public execution, like something from medieval times, except instead of dragging his body through the streets, Dominic dragged it through the digital streets. That Facebook Live made sure the whole world could witness what she'd done. And the third murder was the character assassination. The lies Dominic told while his body was still warm. The narrative she created that painted Mukari as a drug dealer, as someone who deserved what happened to him, as the villain when he was actually the victim. Moving forward, because this wasn't over yet, Dominic kept that live stream going. The police showed up and surrounded the house. And for 5 hours, 5 whole hours, there was a standoff. 5 hours of Dominic talking to the camera. 5 hours of police negotiation. 5 hours of Mukari's family somewhere out there, maybe watching their son's body on a screen, unable to do anything to help him. Can you even imagine that? Can you wrap your mind around what that must have felt like? When police finally got inside that Warren home, they found exactly what thousands of people had already seen online. Mukari Finley's body, the blood, all the evidence of a violent, calculated murder. But here's what those viewers didn't see through that live stream: the forensic details. The evidence that would prove this wasn't just emotion or rage. This was something Dominic Robinson had thought through, prepared for, intended to carry out. The prosecution would later stand in court and lay it out clearly. There was extensive planning involved, not just with Mukari either. Evidence pointed to Dominic potentially having planned to harm other people too. This wasn't a one-time explosion of grief. This was methodical. Detectives started putting together the timeline, the dating app messages, the setup, the catfish profile, every digital trail that led Mukari to that house on that specific day. And while they were doing their job, building their case, trying to make sense of what happened, the internet was doing something else entirely, running wild with Dominic's version of events. See, that's the problem with social media, right? Truth doesn't matter if the lie gets out first. And Dominic's lie, that Mukari was a drug dealer who killed her boyfriend, it spread like wildfire. People who never knew Mukari, who never met him, who had no idea who he really was as a person, they were commenting, sharing, taking sides. Some folks actually believed Dominic was justified, that Mukari got what he deserved. How did we get here? To a place where we watch someone die on our phones and then decide whether or not they earned it based on nothing but an accusation from their killer? Mukari's family had to sit with that, had to watch strangers debate their son's character online, had to see his name dragged through the mud while his body wasn't even cold yet. And that's when they decided enough was enough. They weren't about to let the internet write the final chapter of Mukari's life. They weren't going to let Dominic's lies become accepted truth just because she said them loudest. So they did something that took more courage than most of us will ever have to show. They called a press conference, packed into their family restaurant in Flint, and they spoke up.
And we believe Mukari was murdered as a result of pure hate and jealousy.
Today, family and friends of Mukari Finley gathered in Flint 5 days after his murder in Warren. The family says it took the opportunity to address the homicide and dehumanization of a person that they hold so dear. TV5's James Felton has more.
Mukari did not deserve this. No one deserves this.
Mukari Finley's father, Stanley Wright, making comments today about the murder of his son on December 12th. Warren police say that on that date, Dominique Robinson made statements indicating involvement in the murder and issued threats towards officers, including statements expressing a desire for, quote, suicide by cop. Wright told us his son believed he was meeting a woman for a blind date.
Mukari was catfished by this picture. But when he arrived at the location, this is who he was met with. He was encountered by a biological male who was twice his size and who had been plotting to kill him for months. Mukari never stood a chance.
Wright thanked police for taking Robinson alive.
That individual also did not deserve to die. They deserve to sit in jail for the rest of their lives without the possibility of parole.
Wright also wanted to address what he called mean, hateful, baseless rumors online about his son. Wright wants everyone to know that Mukari Finley never met his murderer prior to his encounter with him last week. Wright also says that he was not a drug dealer and had no criminal history.
Please do not believe every lie that some stranger tells you on the internet. There is an immeasurable pain associated with losing a child, but we have been re-victimized by the fact that this was allowed to be Facebook live streamed with photos of his body reshared for clicks, likes, engagement, and entertainment of others.
Dominic Robinson was arrested after that 5-hour standoff. Once the live stream ended, once negotiations were done, once she finally came out of that house, police took her into custody. She faced a judge for the first time on a Tuesday. The arraignment happened over Zoom. Dominic appeared on screen while Mukari's family sat in that Warren courtroom, tears running down their faces, watching the person who killed their loved one. The charges were read out. First-degree premeditated murder. Not manslaughter. Not second-degree. First-degree premeditated. That means the prosecution had evidence this was planned out, that Dominic thought about it, prepared for it, and carried it out with full intention. The judge set bond at $2 million cash, not 10%. Not something you can post if you've got family with resources. $2 million cash, which meant Dominic wasn't going anywhere. The judge also ordered a mental health evaluation. Makes sense. You'd have to question the mental state of someone who commits murder and then broadcasts it to the world like it's entertainment. Dominic pleaded not guilty. Not guilty. Despite the live stream. Despite the body. Despite the confession she basically gave to thousands of viewers while standing over Mukari's corpse. Not guilty. The prosecutor said they had more evidence coming. That when Dominic returned to court the following week, there would be additional details revealed. More pieces of the puzzle showing just how deep this went. But for Mukari's family, no amount of evidence was going to bring him back. No guilty verdict was going to undo what they'd seen. No sentence was going to erase the fact that their son's death played out on social media for the entire world to see. So where does that leave us? Mukari Finley is gone, 29 years old, a chef who never got to cook another meal, a son who never got to hug his mother again, a nephew, a brother, a friend. All of that just erased. And for what? Dominic Robinson sits in jail waiting for her day in court, maintaining her innocence despite literally showing the world what she did. The evidence is there. The live stream exists. The body was real. But Mukari's family is still fighting, still trying to reclaim their son's name from the internet's grip. Still trying to make sure that when people hear Mukari Finley, they don't think of that Facebook Live. They don't think of the accusations. They think of the person he actually was. That's the battle they're left with. And honestly, it's a battle they shouldn't have to fight. This case isn't just about one murder. It's about what happens when we turn tragedy into entertainment. When we scroll past someone's death like it's just another post in the feed. When we share it, comment on it, form opinions about it without knowing a single real thing about the person who died. Mukari became a hashtag, a trend, a story people told at work the next day. Did you see that video? Did you hear what happened? But he was a person, a whole entire person with dreams and plans and people who loved him. And his family had to watch him become a meme. Make it make sense. The fact that someone can commit murder and broadcast it live and we all just watch. The fact that a killer gets to tell their version of events to thousands of people before the victim's family even knows their loved one is dead. The fact that lies spread faster than truth. And by the time the real story comes out, half the world has already made up their mind. That's what social media has done to us. Turned us into spectators of each other's pain, consumers of tragedy, judges and juries before all the facts are even in. Look, Dominic Robinson's pain was probably real. Losing someone you love, that grief is heavy. It changes you. Makes you want to blame someone, anyone, for the hole that's been ripped in your life. But this wasn't justice. This wasn't healing. This was revenge against the wrong person, broadcasted to the world like it was supposed to mean something. Mukari didn't deserve what happened to him. Point blank. Didn't deserve to be catfished. Didn't deserve to be lured into a trap. Didn't deserve to be stabbed multiple times and left to die on a stranger's floor. And he sure as hell didn't deserve to have his body displayed on social media while his killer told lies about who he was. Here's what I need you to understand. This could happen to anyone, your son, your brother, your friend. One swipe on a dating app. One conversation with the wrong person. One decision to meet up. Thinking everything's fine. Thinking you're safe. And then you're not. Mukari trusted what he saw on that profile. He believed the person he'd been talking to was real. He showed up expecting one thing and got something completely different. That's the danger we're living with now. You really don't know who's on the other side of that screen. You don't know what they're planning, what they're hiding, what they're capable of. And even if you do everything right, even if you're careful, even if you're a good person living a clean life, someone else's pain can still find you. Someone else's rage can still reach out and destroy you. Think about Mukari's mother. She talked to her son 5, 6 times every single day. They were best friends. And one day, he just didn't call back, didn't answer. And when she finally found out why, when she finally learned what happened to him, it wasn't from a police officer at her door. It wasn't from a phone call preparing her for the worst. It was out there on the internet. Her son's murder was public. His body was on display. His death was entertainment for thousands of people she'd never meet. How do you recover from that? How do you close your eyes at night knowing that somewhere out there, that video still exists? That people still have it saved, still share it, still watch it? You don't recover. You just learn to carry it. Learn to live with a weight that never gets lighter. Mukari's family had to do something no family should ever have to do. They had to stand in front of cameras and tell the world their son wasn't a drug dealer. Had to prove he was a good person when his killer had already convinced half the internet otherwise. Had to fight for his memory while they were still trying to process his death. That takes a kind of strength most of us will never have to find. A kind of love that doesn't quit even when everything inside you wants to fall apart. Because at the end of the day, that's all they had left. His memory. And they'd be damned if they were going to let anyone take that away too. The legal system will do what it does. Dominic Robinson will stand trial. Evidence will be presented. A jury will decide. And maybe, there will be some form of justice in a courtroom. But justice won't bring Mukari back, won't undo what his family saw, won't erase the comments or the shares or the fact that his death became a viral moment instead of a private tragedy. What will matter, what has to matter, is that we remember him correctly, that we see him for who he was, not for how he died, not for what his killer said he was. Mukari Finley was 29 years old. He was a chef. He was someone's son, someone's best friend. He worked in his family's restaurant in Flint. He had co-workers who loved him, friends who looked up to him, a future that should have stretched out for decades ahead of him. He went on what he thought was a date and never came home. That's his story. That's the truth. And no amount of lies told on a Facebook Live, no matter how many people watched or shared or believed them, can change that. His family made sure of it. They stood up. They spoke out. They fought for him when he couldn't fight for himself anymore. And because of them, because of their courage and their love and their refusal to stay silent, the real Mukari Finley won't be forgotten. So here's what we can do. What we should do. We can think twice before we click on a video of someone's tragedy, before we share it, before we comment on it like we have any idea what really happened. We can remember that behind every viral moment is a real person, a real family, real pain that doesn't go away when we scroll past. We can choose to see victims as people, not content. We can wait for facts instead of jumping to conclusions. We can resist the urge to turn someone's worst day into our entertainment. Because it could be any of us next. Any of us on the wrong side of a lie that spreads faster than truth. Any of us reduced to a headline, a hashtag, a story strangers tell without knowing a single real thing about who we were. Mukari Finley deserved better than what he got. He deserved to live. He deserved to be safe. He deserved to grow old and cook more meals and talk to his mother 6 times a day for the rest of her life. And he deserved to be remembered for who he really was. Not for how he died. Not for what his killer said. Just for himself. A chef. A son. A person who mattered. That's the least we can do. Remember the person. Honor the truth. And think twice before we participate in turning someone's tragedy into a spectacle. Because Mukari Finley's family had to learn the hardest way possible that once something goes live, you can't take it back. Once a lie spreads, you can't unspread it. Once someone's death becomes public, you can't make it private again. All you can do is tell the truth, louder, longer, until it finally drowns out the noise. And that's what they did. That's what they're still doing. Fighting for their son. Making sure his name means something real. Making sure that when we say Mukari Finley, we remember a life, not just a death. That's his legacy. Not the Facebook Live, not the lies, not the viral moment. Just a 29-year-old chef who should still be here, who would still be cooking, who would still be calling his mother, who would still be alive if someone hadn't decided that her pain was worth more than his life. Remember him. Remember the real him. That's all his family is asking. That's all any family in this situation can ask. And honestly, it's the very least we owe them. Rest in peace, Mukari Finley. You deserved so much better than this, but your family made sure the world knows who you really were. And that matters. That will always matter. The truth matters. The person matters. The life matters. Don't let anyone tell you different. If this story moved you, if it made you think twice about the things we share and consume online, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for Trending Crime Vault. We tell the stories that need to be told, the ones about real people, real families, and real consequences. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. And if you know someone who needs to hear Mukari's story, share this video. Until next time, stay safe out there.